Hello, welcome to the Green Hour with the Cleveland School of Cannabis. Today we have with us Beneleaves. We have the CEO and the COO, Jeff and Peggy Hollenbach, and we also have Bill, who's the CSO. And first of all, I'd just like to thank you today for doing this and helping us educate our students in the world of cannabis. First of all, I guess I will start with you, Peggy. We have talked before at the school, but I wanted you to have the opportunity to give the students a little background for those that didn't meet you before on Beneleaves and how you guys started as a family operation.
Okay. Hi. First of all, thank you for the opportunity for us to speak with you and your students today. Just very, very excited, as we talked a little bit earlier about how the cannabis industry has evolved in my lifetime. I'm of a certain age where it was, absolutely, we talked about the war on drugs and all this, and it's so wonderful, as we discussed earlier, that now we're an essential business during this pandemic. We were pretty excited about that. We started Beneleaves as a family, my husband, Jeff, and I, and Bill Williams, our chief sales officer, is our one of our primary investors and partners. And the idea came to us about 3.5 years ago. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and I was on big pharma drugs that I was less than pleased with all of the ramifications and collateral side effects that came with it. And so I started investigating into some holistic medicines and cannabis for that day when I would need it. We also went through some family loss of people from cancer, pancreatic cancer, and when the end of life, we knew what was going to happen to my sister-in-law, Jeff's sister, that she was not going to beat pancreatic cancer, but the end of life was just awful and could have been so much better with cannabis in her last couple weeks there. So when we heard that Ohio was going to open up for medical marijuana, the joke that we all say about that is we were sitting around the dinner table with our attorneys who happen to be our friends. And I'm like, well, how hard could it be to get a license? Well, we found that out. But with Jeff's background and Bill's background, we wanted, again, it's so thrilling to see legitimacy coming to this industry. And Jeff and Bill both come from big food manufacturing, and our whole philosophy of our company is this is medicine, and should be produced in a safe environment that is with FDA and good manufacturing processes. Right. We often have visitors here that come. We had about 26 people from the Ohio State University to come and see from all different, a wide range of different departments come in, and we had about 2/3 were very anti-cannabis. You could tell by their body language. After we gave them a tour of our facility and discussed what we did, it was astounding to see the difference. They're like, my gosh, you guys are doing science, you guys are doing medicine, we're like, yeah, this isn't Walter White on Breaking Bad, this is true medicine. Right. So it was an arduous process to get our license. There was a lot of things in the state that they had a lot of delays and what have you, but we got our preliminary temporary license in January of 19, and we became operational in September of 19. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jeff and what you brought to the.
So Bill and I have worked together. Bill's father's company was Glory Foods here locally. And Bill and I worked together at Glory Foods and spent the last 10 years working together and got our heads together and started talking about doing something in Columbus and doing something with cannabis. And so my background is I'm a I'm a chef. I'm a Food and Drug Administration acknowledged thermal process authority, which means that the FDA acknowledges that I know how to write a process to make a sterile or commercially sterile product, in the building here. When we built the building to FDA, USDA standards, so that when the Fed comes, which they're going. We all know the Fed's coming at some point, right? It's
right.
2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. They're going to come. All of our labeling, all of the facility, the labeling is already at FDA standards. So we don't need to change anything when the FDA comes. We're there already, which is above and beyond the standards that the state of Ohio set. So all of our labeling and everything, if you look at the labeling, the one thing that we've instituted is we have a QR code on the product label that will actually take you right to the Constant Cannabis website, and you can look at the test results for your own product. That's the test results that we had performed, required by the state, but we're posting the results for everybody to see because we're transparent. We have absolutely nothing to hide. We want everybody to know exactly what's in our product. And that QR code lets them look on there. And if they're more interested than the average customer, if they want to know exactly what the terpenes are that are in there, or if they want to know exactly how much CBD or THCA or THC, that is all listed on the test results, along with all the compliance stuff, the pesticides, herbicides, and everything else. So, but
That's nice, because it's hard sometimes. I am an actual medical patient as well, and those labels can be pretty tough to read. They're so small. So it's nice to be able to see it on the big screen.
But so philosophically, the company that Bill was doing sales and I was doing our R&D for down in South Carolina had just incredibly high standards for what they were doing. So we knew that whatever we were going to do here, if we're going to make a name for Beneleaves, that we had to set the standard for what was going on. We had to be above and beyond reproach, and we had to be doing things that were different and better than everyone else was. And that's what we've attempted to do as we've entered the marketplace. Bill and I were talking the other day. We're at 31 offerings right now, and we're working on 3 more as we speak. So we've got some unusual things out there, and we've got some typical things out there.
What do you say when you say offerings? Give the students a little idea of what you mean by that.
Peg or Bill, do you want to chime in on that?
So we offer tinctures, we offer capsules, we offer vape pens, of course. We've got a good lotion, and in each one of those categories, we have different flavors or varieties or scents. So in our lotions, we've got lavender, we've got Lang Lang Rose, we've got a couple unscented. In our tinctures, we have mango, kaffir lime, we have Satsuma orange, Madagascar vanilla. With our gummies, we have Bang Bang Sriracha. We've got a new watermelon yuzu that's fantastic. We've got our peach, that's our indica. So just different flavors, different scents with each one of the categories. So
there has been a question that a couple students have asked me when they're going to start seeing the inhalation spray devices. Have you guys seen those in the market here in Ohio yet?
Only in CBD, and I'm not certain that is an allowable application method.
Gotcha.
So that may be part of it, but the lead time to get that inhaler done, there's only one company that I know of that's making a CBD inhaler that's being sold in interstate commerce. It's not being sold in the dispensaries.
Gotcha. And is that cut due to the process itself, the water-based process, or is it just the application itself? They don't like it.
again, I'm not positive. I'd have to go check, but I don't believe that it is an approved method of administration by the state.
Gotcha. Okay.
By pharmacy. It has nothing to do with us.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. We know how that works. So Bill, tell us a little bit about what you do for Beneleaves, and I know you've been traveling quite a bit, and kind of what you see in the industry.
Sure thing. So I get around a lot to all the dispensaries and just help try and increase our presence of the items available at each store, at each dispensary. So my job is just building relationships with each of the store managers and just continuing to get them our products and making our products available to each one of the dispensaries. So it's relationships with the store managers, and then educating also the bud tenders on the difference in our items, the taste of variety. Our gummies, for example, we use nanotechnology, so they have quicker onset. So I'm constantly just educating folks on what makes our products different, what makes them better, and how we can help the patients of Ohio. So that's a lot of what I do, is just, I think I just try and help build awareness of what we've got and the items we've got available and how they can help. One thing I love about the bud tenders that I work with and that I see is that they really care about the patients of Ohio, and they're there to help. And when I talk to them, it's a lot of, I'm just trying to give them tools so that they can provide better information. What's really cool about the bud tenders in the state of Ohio is they really want to be the experts. And they look to us as manufacturers just to provide them with information so that they can better share that with the patients of Ohio. So we're all just learning together and just here to help the patients. So it's a pretty cool industry.
Absolutely. So when I think a good question, especially for the students here, we're now actually starting a new major, which is called processing. And it's basically going to start with intro to extracts. Then you're going to get into the CO2 and the ethanol process. And then we'll get into post-processing, nano-emulsification, all the new techniques that are out there. So talking to some of our possible new processing students, what are you looking for when you're interviewing an employee that would work at your processing facility? Are you looking for background? Are you looking for someone that is willing to learn? Just kind of give the students a little bit of an idea when they go to a processor, what they need to have as on board for them to be able to be hired.
Sure. So I think probably the thing that we talk with the most about anybody that we're bringing in is flexibility, because everyone here virtually, and I mean everyone here, is cross-trained in every other single job. So there is no one here. I can run the extraction equipment. I can run the short path. I can run the nanotechnology equipment. So can any one of my processing people. And by the way, all the processing people are also licensed to drive, so that if we get stuck, and again, it's just more about flexibility and keeping things interesting. Because, if you think about making medicine, making marijuana medicine, right? You got an Advil pill that's that big, okay? And the medicine in that Advil pill is, 4% of what that pill is. That's about the same as it is here. So there's certainly a lot of extraction work and processing work and post-processing work to get the medicine ready. But over half the work here is manufacturing. It's making gummies. It's, cleaning up after making gummies. It's conditioning gummies. It's packaging gummies, labeling gummies, inventorying gummies, getting gummies ready to sell. So there's definitely a lot of, it's not, no one here does extraction 8 hours a day. They might be at the extractor or in the extraction room for an hour and a half, and the rest of the time the extractor's taking care of itself. They'll go back later, but in the meantime, we're packaging up gummies or we're packaging up something. So
set parameters on the extractor.
yeah, so we've got set parameters. So the value, you know, Peg and I were both in the restaurant business, and the way that you developed your reputation and you learned more was you worked for a bunch of different chefs around town or in and out of town. And certainly you're going to learn techniques and improvements on your manufacturing techniques from anyone that you go to. So bringing that sort of information along with you, that's kind of generalized. How do I improve my distillate yield? How do I improve the color on my distillate? How do I improve my THC content on my distillate? How do I remediate the yeast and mold that I can maybe buy from a processor because they had product that went bad, but I can CO2 extract it and I can clean it up and I can make perfectly good product out of it for less money than what I would have been if it wasn't contaminated. So there's just all those kinds of things, but people-wise, it's flexibility. The ability, you know, if you're coming in here with experience, honestly, the people that we hired, there was one person that had any marijuana experience and everybody else had none. And then we've had a lot of professional development classes here where we had Cascade come in and teach everybody how to use the short path, and CAPNA come in and teach everybody how to use the ethanol extractor. And IES, we actually went to Colorado for classes and then had them come back and do classes here also.
But if I could interject, you know, it's very analogous either to the winemaking or food industry. There's a lot of glamorous, fun parts about it, but there's a lot of parts of the business that aren't so glamorous. The labeling, the tedium of having to label, you know, 3,500 vape pens for one of our partners, a level 2 cultivator. But what was really cool with the level 2 cultivator who does not have a processing license was to be able to take one of their most popular strains and transform it into a vape pen. And the stuff, you know, that was really exciting those days of the extracting and the
because what we've done, we've taken and we've you know, so that's called a white label deal. We're going to another grower that can only grow and sell to dispensaries, and we're buying product from him to make into his own label vape pens that he can sell. He's making money on his, we're making money on it. It helps us, you know, puts more product on the truck.
Well, and it also exposed our anybody that's doing processing, and it's just really fascinating the different strains that are coming through and what different yields you're getting and the THC. So, you know, back to your question, as you're looking to go out for employment in this industry, there's a lot of flexibility is just the absolute key word, because all of us here wear many different hats every day.
Right.
Yeah, so unless you're talking about going to the biggest processor in the state, you're not going to be doing extraction all day long. It's going to be extraction for an hour and a half and short path distillation for an hour and a half, and then 5 hours or 6 or 7 hours it's going to be packaging and making gummies and making tincture and all those things.
But that's the opportunity. You do get to learn a lot, and you get to wear multiple hats, and you just get to see different parts of the industry. Like you said, we send a lot of our people out for doing driving, but also when we were able to do patient education days, we would let them go out and do patient education days also, because it was good for the patients and the bud tenders to interact with the people that are actually making the gummies. So, I mean, Peg and Jeff said it very well. If you come in this industry, you really should be flexible and just have that mindset of how can I help and what can I do to help the entire process.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, I think that, like you said, basic education's great. learning a lot. I hear when you're talking about the different processes that your employees go through, there's a lot of variety there, which for most people, they'd prefer variety than doing the same thing over and over and over again. So that makes it kind of a nice job to have a little bit of variety and learning a lot of different areas. But I heard you talking about processes. So it sounds like you have quite a lot of different type of machinery there. Tell me a little bit about what processes you're using, what machinery you're using. You don't have to tell me, all the secrets, but
I mean, there's, if anybody was really interested in Doug for 5 minutes, they could figure out everything that we have here.
And
Mhm.
And
as
there's not, I'm sorry.
And as Jeff said, we're very transparent. We have had, and Bill can speak to this. Bill, how many different dispensaries have we had their entire staff in to be here for a staff training day? Quite a few.
Yeah, quite a few. We're very proud of our facility and we enjoy sharing it. So anytime we get the opportunity to have anyone, bud tender, the buyer, anyone from dispensary come through, the owners, anybody at all,
Mhm.
have them come through and meet us and see our facility, see our process, and then just see our level of commitment to the patients of Ohio. So anytime we get a chance to.
Absolutely. That's
So-
a nice opportunity for, the industry as well, to be able to educate them, because let's face it, bottom line is they're selling your product. So,
Right.
when it comes to, they're recommending your product, I should say. So, that they do have to have that background and education on how it's processed and feel like they can believe in your product to be able to recommend it. So
That's correct. It
Yeah.
helps. People like selling things that they enjoy, that they like. People like working with people that they like. So it absolutely helps all the way around.
Hey, Lisa, if I send you a picture or two, can we put it up?
yeah, actually, you can actually share your screen. I will make you a co-host and you just hit, or you're on Peggy's computer, right?
Yeah.
So let me do this. So make Peggy a co-host.
Oh, while he's grabbing, here, you just click your phone with here. Put it on here.
So here is, if it's on your screen, if you put it on your computer screen,
Yeah.
on the bottom, there's this little, of the Zoom box, there's a little share screen. You've probably done this before.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
Okay.
Just
What
kidding.
are we trying to do? We cannot hook that up to this.
Or are the pictures on your phone?
Mm.
Okay. Just
If
second.
it's easier for him to text me or send an email, that's fine too. I can do that.
However you want to do it.
Or I'll keep talking. So Lisa, I'll keep talking a little bit about our.
Hey, why don't you just walk it in the back?
Oh,
You know
what
what?
am I
Heck with
thinking?
this. We're going on a
We're
tour.
gonna go on a walking tour.
Here we go.
Awesome. I just lost your, okay, there we go. Your sound is not coming through.
Okay, is it now?
Yes.
Okay, I touched the mute button. So
Okay.
Friday is a dark day for us. It's an admin day. Our hourlies are off. All the administrative people are here trying to figure out what we're going to do next week. So we're dark. I'm going to walk you through and back, and you can see exactly what the facility looks like. And let me know if you lose me for any reason. We've got good Wi-Fi, but you never know.
Sure. This is awesome.
Okay, so this is the hallway, just going down to the shipping and receiving and processing areas. You can see we've got polyurethane concrete on the floors, floor drains on the floors. This is, like I said, this is shipping.
Mm-hmm.
That's our delivery van. We do our own deliveries from here.
That's beautiful.
All right, this is packaging, and you're not going to see a whole lot of equipment in here. Almost everything is hand packed because we're just not making the quantities to be able to afford the equipment to automate.
Right.
All right. This is the workhorse. Isolate extraction systems, 2 times 10 liter. You can fit 5 pounds in each one of those extraction tubes. I really like it because it's completely automated. So we can set the program. We can set the program and walk away from it, and it'll automatically extract.
Who makes that one?
Isolate extraction systems.
Isolate extraction, IE, okay.
All right, so this right next door is our CAPNA ethanol extractor. That is currently operating at minus 80 C. So it's really, really, real cold. So cold that that ethanol will give you a burnt blister if you get it on your hand. So it's just spraying ethanol directly over the product through the filter bag. Fantastic method, works really well. We can do with ethanol in 40 minutes what it takes us almost 4.5 hours to do with CO2.
CO2, yeah. I hear that a lot.
So, but there's some downfalls. So there's a little vacuum oven in the corner. This is our Cascade Short Path 100 wiped film distillation machine.
Nice.
So they're being held at different high temperatures. That's a feeding flask. So we'll open that valve up on the feeding flask, feed it through, it drops down. The heavier parts go up, the lighter parts go down. And you actually end up with 4 outputs here: dark colored distillate, light colored distillate, terpenes, and then if there's any ethanol left, they'll recondense and go down here. So it's a really efficient, very good piece of equipment. This will turn winterized crude oil into distillate with 1 pass, with really nice distillate with 2 passes.
So you can recapture that ethanol and reuse it?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's what this machine's for.
Awesome.
So that is a 20-liter roto evaporation machine. You can see we've got in there, we've left yesterday's run in there. And what that is partially processed crude oil. So it's oil out of the CO2 extractor. We've mixed it with 4-to-1 with 200 proof ethanol and frozen it at minus 50 degrees below zero. And then what we do is we filter the fats out using a Buckner funnel, Buckner vacuum funnel.
Right.
Filter the fats off. Then that liquid goes in here and it heats it up to 155. The ethanol will vaporize, go up into the twin columns. The columns will cause it to turn back into liquid, and we capture it down in the collection of flasks. So we will actually get about a 97% recovery on ethanol.
It's a beautiful piece of equipment, by the way.
Yeah, that's a decarboxylation oven.
Uh-huh. And just a little bit about that. What do you usually run? What temperature do you usually run? Or does that automate at a certain temperature for decarboxylation?
Well, yes. So we decarb at about 250 degrees. And there's a specified period of time. Plus we put a couple of temperature probes into the mass that's inside the oven to make sure it's the right temperature. So I just stepped into the kitchen, and the kitchen is set up to do allergy work. So there's a foot bath. There's notification on the door that says, hey, by the way, when we're using allergens, we're using allergens. The allergens that we're using are eggs and butter. And I'm actually looking here. So there That's a brown butter pistachio chew. And those will sell, those are dosed. Those will sell for about $7.50 a piece.
What's your usual dosage on those? Do you know?
10 to 30 milligrams. It really, what the patients in Ohio are looking for are the most possible milligrams of THC per day.
Of course. That, I mean, when you're talking about pain, you know, that you don't want to have to eat 3 gummies if you can only eat 1.
Sure.
So that was a very nice tour. You still taking us to a few different places?
I think they're headed back to the
office. Okay. I appreciate showing the students a little bit of the inside workings of an extraction facility. That gives them a lot to see. So we were talking a little bit before we started recording, and I think a lot of businesses here, we talked about the fact that cannabis industry here in Ohio was considered an essential service.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've talked about how, of course, from prohibition mentality to today, the fact that we have become considered essential is a huge change in the way, you know, the government and the people think about cannabis as a medicine. And of course, we've all been under lockdown mode. So tell me a little bit about some of the things you guys are now doing to continue to stay running and stay an essential service, but keep your employees safe.
So, you know, several of the things that we did was early on, we said to everybody, look, we're an essential business. We're going to be working, but if you don't feel comfortable with working, you need to go home, because
Sure.
we're going to keep working. So nobody opted out on that. We have had 2 people that came in contact with someone that was suspected of having COVID. So we've had 2 people out for 2-week
Intervals. Mm-hmm.
2-week quarantines, but that's it. And then early on, we started up with all the protective measures. We taped the building off. You know, there's a sign out front. We're only letting 1 person in, and we're pretty low traffic anyway. You know, there's 15 people that work in the building. So, you know, we're taking really good, careful care of the front door, all the doors, you know, all of the touch spaces. Everybody's got masks on. They all get their temperature taken when they come in the building. And that's going to go on for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, you know, the only people that really have regular outside contact on purpose are the drivers. So, and they're under real strict instructions. They've got the regular 95 masks. They've got gloves, hand sanitizer. They wipe every box before it's delivered. You know, so it's just, and it's important for us as processors to be there for the dispensaries, because the dispensaries are faced with all these people that need their medicine, first of all, and then all these people who are angry because they can't get in the dispensary because they're practice social distancing and everything, and it's tough. It's
Right.
tough.
It's been tough on all of us, I think, but I believe that we're all going to get through this and learn quite a bit about ourselves and what is priority in our lives, and it's going to make some different changes, definitely, once we come out of this, I think. But the other question I wanted to ask you about was, you know, I know the state has been very cautious about how we package and sell the edible products, you know, to make sure the children are safe. And, you know, it has presented a problem. However, it is essential that we continue to allow edibles to be here in the state, because a lot of people, would just prefer that method versus inhalation. And maybe, a topical doesn't quite do what it needs to do. So what are some of the obstacles that you've come up against when it comes to making edibles?
You want to chime in here? Well, okay. So I think one of the things that's frustrated everybody like me out there is, and I say like me, part of what you'll be called upon to do if you're working in cannabis is to do process calculations. Okay. So how do you make sure that that 10 milligram gummy has 10 milligrams of distillate in it?
Sure.
And in spite of everyone's most careful attention to that detail, it's really tough for anybody to hit it dead on every time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple people out there that can. Honestly, if we're honest with ourselves, what you're going to see with us is you're going to see some 9-pack gummies, and you're going to see some 11-pack gummies and some 10-pack gummies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a bit of a frustration, and I know that the state's trying to get that improved.
Right.
The naming that, yeah. So I'm gonna have Peg talk for just a minute about naming.
Yeah. One of the frustrations is when our primary governing body as a processor is the Ohio Department of Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
However, we do need to submit product ID and names to pharmacy, who has to give approval. So we have 2 government agencies that we have to go through for. Commerce generally does our packaging approval, and pharmacy does the product approval. A frustration with that process is it's often a lengthy one, and it has to be incredibly precise of what we submit. But they also, right now they're trying to define a little more what is considered an edible in the state of Ohio. And fortunately, a group we belong to caught in the revisions that they were going to ban anything that was considered a confection. And confection in the culinary world is really anything with sugar in it.
Right.
So that was, we're like, whoa, ho, ho, ho. And then, we go through things where we did a strain specific vape pen of purple pie.
Mm-hmm.
So 600 plus cases. And then we're told on our last 3 cases, we could no longer, even though it was the strain name that was in the ingredient label, we could no longer put that on the packaging because that would be attractive to children, which is just ludicrous, because once anybody gets a vape pen, they're taking it out of the package anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
But we have, a host of people throughout the state that are doing strain specific items. And now we have to take, that looks like a license plate, acronym. We have to take, we can't call it purple pie. It's purple, PLPD. And those are some of the things that are incredibly frustrating in the state. And,
Well, think about,
they had pharmacy, one processor had a fight with pharmacy to do a Rice Krispie style treat because the state considered Rice Krispies kid friendly, where I'm like, adults eat Rice Krispies, So
Right.
those are some of the frustrations in the edible world, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I've heard the same thing, and it's frustrating as far as those names that you were talking about, because for a patient that is looking for a strain specific type thing and they're following that name, and then suddenly the name gets changed, then they lose out on their medicine until somebody in the know tells them, oh, this is what this really is. And that's not good for us as patients.
That's correct. That's correct.
believe me, we couldn't agree more. And the one thing that when this happened, and it's happening more and more, everybody's like, the growers are like, well, how are they going to know that this is really blueberry cheesecake?
Right.
If I can't call it blueberry cheesecake, what am I supposed to call it?
Well, and I want to say, from being in the industry for so long, part of that cannabis breeders and growers have to take a little bit of the responsibility on how they name their product in the first place. Back when it was black market, it didn't matter. And you got some kind of crazy names out there right now. So I do understand not having, there are certain strains of cannabis that I think definitely for marketing and adult use purposes, we definitely need to make those changes and maybe just use some, initials or something like that. But when we're talking about flavors, and that's kind of what, like your blueberry cheesecake or your strawberry daiquiri or, some of those other strains, it was really named that way because it reflected that flavor. So that at least you could kind of determine what terpene you were getting from that cannabis strain. So to take that away is kind of, in my opinion, not the best method, but also on the breeder side, we need to be a little bit more responsible in the naming of our strains. So it's a combination of things.
Right.
So I guess we are just about done here. Did you guys have any other things that you wanted to cover before I opened it up for questions?
No, we're happy to answer questions, any of us or all of us.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I will see if there's anybody here in the chat that has any questions for.
Any questions about like what items we should be making? Any insight on that? Do you hear any feedback like that? Like
the main feedback that I'm hearing right now, because we are limited here in Ohio on what you can put out there. Most people are looking for a higher concentrate. I don't know which caps are on that, but it sounds like that's what you're already doing. But when it comes to edibles, a lot of us are trying to also watch how much sugar that we're intaking. So, if we can only take one versus 3, that to us, especially people that have like diabetes and things like that still need to medicate it, but they have to watch how much they intake. It would be nice to be able to have a higher concentrate, and, obviously you're going to have that on the top shelf, but it's for those patients that really need it. So that's the only thing that I've really heard. Being from other states, I've seen a lot more variety. I've seen the popcorn, I've seen the brownies, I've seen all kinds of, I've even seen the ice cream and, frozen treats, all kinds of things coming out. But what I'm really interested in seeing somebody do is beverages. As far as, let's say like coffee. I've seen a lot of infused coffee, which you could put, you could just make your coffee, right? Easy things that still give us, a little bit of the absorption of THC, but it's not, it's not snack related. So those are the kind of things that I think a lot of people are looking at now, versus getting away from feeling like they're always eating snacks.
So like a coffee, how much THC would you want to see in that?
So I think when I was in Michigan, I was able to buy, like a small bag that probably would have had maybe 4 pots of full coffee, in it. And I want to say that in that there was 100 milligrams. So
Okay.
a whole pot of coffee is probably equal to 25 milligrams. So
Okay.
in the morning, if you're doing 1 or 2 cups of coffee, you're getting about 12.5 milligrams in the morning. So that's enough to make you take the edge off of whatever pain, but yet it's, in the combination with the coffee, you're not getting that, effect of maybe feeling a little tired first thing in the morning, that kind of thing.
And then for like a cookie, what's a good amount of THC? Like a cookie. Let's go with a cookie.
I would say 20 is good.
Okay.
I mean, they always have a 10 for those people that have a very low tolerance.
Okay.
For most of us, once we start taking the edible, as far as, for pain and that kind of thing, you do build up a tolerance. So eventually you've got to move to the next phase. So I would much prefer to have one 20 milligram cookie than have to eat 2 cookies.
Got it.
You know, I mean, that especially for women, you know, we're focused more on calories. So,
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good information.
it says honey in the coffee. Have you seen people talking about? There is I think there's now
The honey's super popular right now.
yeah, honey infused,
Yep.
and
We've
then
heard
you
a
can
lot
actually
about
scoop
it.
that into your coffee, you know, and let that melt right into your coffee. So honey's a big one because you can also spread it on, you know, anything. So it's not like you just have to eat that one thing. You could put it on a biscuit or, you know, a piece of toast or what have you, and incorporate it that way.
Yeah,
So
we're hearing really, really good things about the honey.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. That's good. I think it's like 500 milligrams. It's really, really high. You're getting a lot of THC in
I want to say it's
the entire.
yeah, I have, let me see, I've got one right here. Let me tell you exactly what it is. So it has a total of 599 or 589. Again, it's hard to read the label. And then it looks like it, can't tell the exact weight here. So what I was told is they give you a little tiny spoon, and
Yep.
one of those scoops is about 6.5 milligrams.
Okay, good.
It's just like a small little jar.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Have you seen the honey from they're actually starting to use beekeepers to put the they have what they're giving to feed the bees, okay, is infused with THC. So it's actually in their nectar. And then the bees take in that food and then they make the honey, and it's processing the THC into the honey in a natural process. And then, you know, you can buy that. So I've seen a lot of processors actually looking into making the nectar for the bees infused. Because
Wow.
you know, we have quite a few bee makers in Ohio. You know, we have honeybee festival here and all kinds of things. So we have a lot of bee makers that are looking into this as far as being able to produce hives that make cannabis infused honey.
What's your thoughts on, so I just saw somebody type that 34 milligrams you get in the scoop for THC. Is there too much THC? You know, a 20.
I think that is based on the individual and their tolerance level. So for a new user, 5 milligrams is plenty, and it may, you know, almost make them couch bound. And then for the person that has utilized, you know, THC for a couple years and they're using it daily, it may take 20 milligrams. So
Okay.
it really is based off tolerance, and
Okay.
and everybody's got their own individual bioassay, but as far as a standard that I've heard most people say that they use between 15 to 25 milligrams in a sitting. So, you know, that means like for gummies, if we're doing 2, we might have to have 3 gummies in a day. So I say 15 to 25 is kind of normal for the standard user that's been using the medicine, but we start out at 5 to 10 for those people that are just starting into cannabis as a new alternative.
That's good. That's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so it looks like we don't have anybody else chatting any questions in here. I don't have any raised, so I'm going to go ahead and finish.
I have a question. Lisa.
Absolutely, David, go ahead.
I've only been in the cannabis class for 2 months now. I'm a retired electrician. My question is, you might have already answered it. Are you guys processing any organic or vegan products?
Organic or what?
Vegan?
Okay, so
Our gummies are vegan, and you can explain organic.
So organic, this is where federal law and state law have trouble. Organic is a U.S. Department of Agriculture designation. So even though I could make an organic product here, I can't label it as organic because we're not inspected by the USDA. So does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, it does. Yeah.
All right. And when Peg said that our gummies are vegan, she is correct. There's no animal products of any sort, and we fall well below the USDA standard is that 85% of the product has to be organic for it to label organic.
Okay.
And so this wouldn't make the organic label because we didn't source organic, we sourced natural. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Can you talk to the colorings and the tinctures?
Yeah.
Sorry
So
about my camera not working. Yeah.
that's okay. I mean, so what Peg reminds me that so in the grand scheme of how we have to formulate to meet the law, it's USDA. Well, actually, it's kosher, organic, natural, artificial, and artificial as far as flavors and colors go. So we're not doing kosher, we're not doing organic. The natural is that's a great designation. It just didn't quite make it as far as the probably pesticide program for the organic piece on it. But everything we use is natural. Colors are based on tomato and carrot. No artificial colors, no artificial flavors.
Thank you.
Sure.
And that's also, some of your food background helps you understand the concept behind processing, natural versus organic versus, all these different labels that we now have to go by. What's the other one that I was trying to think of that is on a lot of products, but it doesn't really mean much? I was trying to think what the word they used. It's not natural. There's not in cannabis. I'm just talking about in food. When we're talking about, how they're starting to market different things. I can't remember the word they use. Certified, oh, wait a minute, sorry. Certified kind is the organic term for cannabis cultivation.
For cultivation, correct.
Yes, certified kind. So that's the cultivation side of it, and processing is a little different. We used to sell processing equipment to the food and dairy industry in Ohio. I don't know if we ever ran across when we were talking about Glory Foods, I don't know why that sounds so familiar. Possibly you might have bought from us some parts and pieces or some equipment, who knows. But thank you guys so much. It was a really interesting conversation. I think a lot of our students will get a lot out of this. We do record this as well, so it'll be on our news feed. For those of you that couldn't come today, they just look on their news feed, be able to click the link and be able to watch this entire presentation. I want to thank Jeff and Peggy and Bill for their time and for the tour, which was awesome. I finally got to see the inside, and that was kind of a thing for me, so I enjoyed that. And we hope to see you soon, bring you in once the students are here, and we've talked about several other things. So hopefully when we're back up and running in June, we'll have another conversation and keep this going.
Sounds good.
We really appreciate
Really
the
good.
opportunity, and hopefully when things loosen up a bit and relax a bit, the welcome mat is out here to come visit our facility. As Bill said earlier, we're really proud of our facility, and we really love to bring people in to show them, the whole process. So thank you so much.
We should make that part of our processing course. When we were talking about a processing major now and going through the different and to be able to, at the end in post-processing, go through a post-processing facility and see, you know, the packaging and everything that goes on would be awesome for the students. So we'll keep talking.
Okay,
All right.
thanks.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a
Take
great
care.
holiday weekend.
Thank you.
You too.
You too.
Bye
Nice
now.
to meet you too. Bye. By the way, Bill, bye-bye.